Hello adventurers, my name is Divine and this is the first part to a playthrough/guide I am making to help out new players that come to the game. It is something the other veteran players and I have been talking about doing often, and with how hands-off TADO is, I feel like it would be a great resource to reference to new players. My idea for this character is to make him a heavy armor and spear user, and in this video I'll be showing off some of the early side quests and points of interest in Genmire. To make a spear user you need to invest points in both fencing and great weapons, which is something all two-handed martial weapons do, like swords and great weapons for great sword or maces and great weapons for maul. Currently, heavy armor is what everyone who is not going to be a full mage should be wearing. Medium armor's benefits just don't stand up to heavy armor, and light armor grants a huge amount of mana compared to heavy, which is why it's for mages.
It's a good idea to level armor first. I will be using the points I gain for levels as needed because I don't remember all the numbers exactly and I want to progress through gear as efficiently as I can. This is where the first protection spell you get is located. Mend is a small AoE heal that scales on protection and holy mastery. Up this ladder is a chest. There's a few chests in the crypts which if left alone for a while build up treasure. I will be farming the crypts for a while to get 50 bones for a quest right outside, and to get scrap cloth to craft basic items to level my crafting skill. The items with question marks are enchanted. You click them to identify them. The enchants can be uncommon, green, or rare, blue. Enchanted items that you don't want you should recycle instead of sell, because they break down into mind sage dust which can reroll the stats of gear later on in the game. Montage time. Do you see the power rating that my sword has? Power rating and channeling power are incredibly important stats that aren't explained very well, and many new players make it all the way to level 100 without knowing what it means. Power rating and channeling power are the level of your gear, and are measured against the armor level of your enemy. Power rating is for all intents and purposes used in skills and physical weapons, while channeling power is measured for spells and magical affinity weapons. This isn't accurate numbers, but as an example, let's say these skeletons have 100 armor. My rusty sword has a power rating of 90, so the damage I deal to these skeletons is less than my base damage on a -% curve. Now that I equipped a shield with 75 more power rating, I will now have a power rating of 165 versus the 100 defense of the skeletons, and would therefore be on a positive curve % more damage. The more overwhelmingly powerful you are versus the defense of your enemy, the higher the multiplier, and vice versa. This is probably the first skill gem pedestal you'll see in the game, since the mend skill is behind vines and is commonly missed. These are a common method of obtaining new skills. I won't be using any of these in my spear build though. Entropy is a necromancer skill that inflicts a weak damage over time and slowness effect. The Forgotten Soul is what most of the community generally calls an elite mob. They spawn after a certain amount of kills of enemies in the area. They tend to drop a lot more loot and enchanted items, although I wouldn't call them bosses. True bosses spawn on a cooldown, usually in a boss arena, or at the end of events with a high enough event score. This elite is far too strong for most starting characters at the moment, but its damage is low and you can outrun it. This is another elite area back in the crypts, or maybe it's a boss now with this cool new room. I was too late to get to it this time, but it drops a nice early game ring. After about 7 more minutes of farming, I have the 50 bones. Time to leave this place. I am coming back for that ring though. Don't really need any of these. The channeling staff is good for mages though.
Goodness me. Sorry to hear that. Goodness me, now that you...
Thought I wasn't given enough meat for the quest for some reason, but you can't craft while over-encumbered. This is the 50 bones quest I was talking about earlier. I was doing it for the EXP, but this quest gives you the summon skeleton skill gem, which is a necromancy skill that summons skeletons. The higher your necromancy, the more skeletons that get summoned and the higher tier they spawn. Eventually some start to cast spells.
Goodness me, great what?
I am crafting tools to level up my weapons crafting skill to get my first spear. I run out of materials right when I am high enough level. Of course. After farming a few skeletons, I went to check on the skeleton elite to see if it spawned. This is the ring I was talking about earlier. It has the substats of strength, intellect, and agility. These substats directly increase your damage output in proportion to the percentages on your weapon. You can see those percentages by clicking on your weapon. This is the reason why I said leveling armor is the most important, as these substats will appear mostly on armor and will amplify damage. Alright, let's get out of this place once and for all. This is a Kami shrine. There are a few of these hidden around. I will be showing off 3 in this video, and many more as we progress through the game. Kami shrines add points to all stats and an equivalent amount in unlearning points, which you could in turn use them to unlearn a skill you won't be using, like a different armor type, and essentially gain free points. There are also rare drops called Tomes of Unlearning, which grant 10 unlearning points, which you could use to respecialize into another class or gain even more free points from stats you won't be using. This is the town of Genmire. I will be gathering all the quests now because some of them overlap, and I personally just like to have the whole list of quests. In between these two docks is another kami shrine hidden underwater. Now that I got that kami shrine, I am gonna do the fishing quest. Fishing in the ocean is kind of annoying since the fish usually are just beyond your reach, but there is a pond in Genmire where it is very easy. The fish are actual entities, so you could aim your character and try to cast right where they are to catch them instantly.
Hi there, need some fish? Thanks, that's great. Hi there, need some fish?
This is the permanent campfire in Genmire, same as the campfire you have. Here I am using a stone of power to craft my stone spear because using a power stone will increase its plus value, which increases its base damage. This is the recycler. You can use it on most items to get a portion of the materials back. Recycling enchanted items or skill gems will yield the resource used for rerolling the stats of your gear. I will not get to how to do that in today's video because you can't accept the quest to do so until either level 25 or 35. This is the general store. I am getting the backpack here because it is one of the strongest back slot items at the moment, and most players use it throughout the whole game. Up here is a few more side quests I am grabbing on the way to another kami shrine, but I won't be doing them at the moment, at least until I get iron gear. This is the invisible shrine location, and the last shrine I'll be going to in this video. Now I am going to the Genmire fishing village to do the crab quest, even though it's a little dangerous for the gear I am wearing. Wow, that's lucky. Tomes of Unlearning drop from any creature in the game and are pretty rare. They are great in speeding up progression by unlearning the bonus Kami points or selling them to higher level players for large amounts of gold.
Hello there. You're a real light. Hello there.
Hello. Hello. Now that I got the Kami shrines and some of the basics out of the way, time to upgrade gear. There are iron nodes around the island, but the iron mine in Genmire is the fastest, I think. At the end of the cave is the druidic skill, Crack. It is a medium-sized area of effect damage spell centered on the player. With the new Earth Mastery passives, I heard it's pretty powerful late game. After about 20 more minutes in the cave, I am satisfied with 336 iron, which is divisible by 8, so I'll have no more leftover ore, as iron crafts an 8 ore to 5 ingots ratio. Crafted armor and weapons are ultimately the strongest in the game, unless a new tier of gear is coming out where the dropped items would be more powerful in transition to the higher tier. Currently we are in one of these phases where Tier 3 weapons, Maldronite, is weaker than the Tier 3.5 weapons, which are relics. To most efficiently level crafting, you have to balance the amount of crafting levels you gain versus the cost of the item, and the more difficult the item is to craft, as in needing a higher crafting level to craft it in the first place, the more levels you gain. I am testing out the amount of levels I would gain from crafting different weapons, but end up getting to the level to craft spears by crafting the 5 iron swords I need for the quest. The iron spear I made may only have marginally higher damage than the stone spear I have, but the weapon power of the iron spear is 300 compared to the 180 of the stone spear, which as we learned earlier will grant me a greater than base damage effect on lower level mobs. Now to armor. To be able to start armor crafting you need to craft leather gloves, and crafting one set of leather gloves gives you enough to begin crafting metal armor. We need to kill and skin wolves with the skinning knife I made at the beginning of the game. While going into the forest, we may as well complete some other side quests as well, like collecting 5 wood and collecting and cooking 5 venison. Boogaloo! We finally have our full set of armor. Chest pieces always need the most armor skill to equip, so you just need to see that to know how much to invest into armor skills. Overinvesting into armor skills doesn't increase your armor's effectiveness in any meaningful way at the moment, so just using the minimum to equip is just fine. Now that we are fully in our T1 gear, we can take on these last side quests with ease, and then, in the next episode, be able to clear the main quest in a breeze.
Here there. Comfortable. Here's the quest.
Up this ladder is another protection spell, Chastise. It shoots a large bolt of holy damage which generates a large amount of threat and gives the player 5 seconds of HP regeneration based on their protection skill and holy mastery stat. To complete the dead man's quest, you only need to look into the boss's room, but I am going to fight him since I am fully kitted in T1 gear. It should be fairly easy. The keystone dust he dropped is an optional component, like the stones of power, to use in crafting. The dust makes an uncommon magic item, which has 1 or 2 stats. The full keystones, which are harder to get, when used in crafting make a rare item, which has 5 stats. There are anomalies in the stats of magic items that make them look like more sometimes, but they are grouped into one stat, like there is a stat that grants defense against blunt, piercing, and slashing damage, which would make it look like a rare item has 7 stats, but those would always be grouped under one name.
skins and leather.
Behind the hunting lodge are nearly all of the rest of the quests. There is an outpost of orcs with a destroyer and archers, there are boars, and the other two quests after the boars are also back here.
Hunt's up, so you're up for some hunting. I become stronger. Hunt's up, so you're up for some Hunt's up, here's what I have. Ha! Hunt's up, so you're up for some hunt. Hunt's up, so you're up for some hunting. Ha! Hunt's up, so you're up for some hunt.
Hi there, need some fish?
Ha!
Time to finish off the last of the early game side quests. Following this hill are multiple goblin outposts, fastest way that I've found to get all the goblin leaders. And that is all the early game side quests done. Next time I will run through the main quest of genmire and some other points of interest. Please let me know if I forgot anything or if you need a further explanation. Either comment or join the TADO Discord and either me or any of the other veterans will be overjoyed to help no matter how simple the question. Hello. Happy adventuring!